It does matter when a jury says something. We would not be running tonight's report this way if it were a hung jury or the defendant were acquitted. This is a new development. As we put back up on the screen those different organizations, is that an important way for people to understand that there's more than a pattern here, and it undercuts the idea that the defendant was somehow singled out?
Yeah, no, I think it is useful to pull the lens back and look at this in terms of the entire history of the legal process. And, you know, that's not considering all of the people who are currently under indictment, who have not, and by the way, that would be fair to talk to them, you know, talk about them.
Sure.
Because yes, this is, you know, the legal system is about whether they should go to jail. That's why there's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But here, in a court of public opinion, you don't have to have that same standard. It's enough if you say, you know what, it's proved by clear and convincing evidence or preponderance, just to be super in the weeds. But, you know, when I was thinking about your A block, I mean, there were a couple things I was thinking about. One is every single defendant who we prosecuted successfully in the Mueller investigation, so Manafort, Stone, Gates, Flynn, Papadopoulos, all of the people who we prosecuted who did not cooperate, so that leaves out Gates and Cohen. People now know about Michael Cohen. Those two people cooperated. Everyone else was pardoned by Donald Trump. So it is useful to think about how he used the pardon power to basically absolve people who did crimes with and for him and then pardon them. It's just in such striking contrast to the way that the current president, President Biden, is not wielding the pardon power to, in this, you know, for example, to free his son.
Watching his own family on trial. Right?
Exactly. You can't imagine a more personal interest. But if you want to know about Donald Trump's respect for the law or lack thereof, you can see how he responded with the use of the pardon power, which is something that is given to the president, but it is assumed, unfortunately, wrongly in his case, that it's going to be wielded judiciously and, you know, without it being used to undermine the rule of law. So all of those people who either were found guilty or who pleaded from their own mouth, or in the case of Paul Manafort, both, since he actually both was convicted at trial and pled guilty, all of those people were pardoned, so they didn't suffer the full consequence of what they did. The second thought I had was, in listening to the testimony at trial by David Pecker and a meeting where David Pecker says, you know, I met with Donald Trump and principle to principle, we agreed on a catch and kill where we were going to have a secret agreement where I, at the National Enquirer, was going to both kill stories that would hurt you, and I would also deliberately foment stories with your aid against your adversaries, whether Republican or Democratic. It just struck me, that was in 2015. So in June 2016, there is proof positive that Donald Trump and his sons and others, including Paul Manafort, were at Trump Tower trying to do the same thing with Russian emissaries.